I've been driving trucks for almost 15 years, and I've seen my fair share of weird shit on the road. Most of the time, it's just drunk drivers, strange wildlife, or some shady characters hanging around at sketchy truck stops. But there's like one night I'll never forget. And to this day, I wish I had just kept driving. It was around 2 a.m., somewhere in West Virginia, deep in the Appalachian stretch of I-77. I had been hauling a load of steel beams and was running behind schedule, so I hadn't planned to stop. The fog was thick, that kind of suffocating mist that swallows your high beams and makes you feel like you're driving through cotton. The CB radio was dead silent, not a single voice, just static. As I approached exit 29, I saw her, a lone figure standing by the off-ramp. At first, I thought it was just my eyes playing tricks in the fog, but as I got closer, it was definitely a woman. She was wearing a faded blue dress, barefoot, with long dark hair that hung over her face. She wasn't waving, just standing there, still as a statue. Now, truckers are used to hitchhikers. You see them now and then, but something about this one made my skin crawl. Maybe it was the fact that she was alone in the middle of nowhere, or that she looked soaked even though there hadn't been any rain for days. Against my better judgment, I slowed down. I told myself it was just another person down on there. Luck. When I pulled over and opened the passenger door, she climbed in without a word. That smell hit me instantly. Not the smell of sweat or booze like you'd expect from someone hitching a ride, but this overwhelming scent of damp earth and rotting leaves, like the floor of a forest after a storm. She sat rigid, staring straight ahead, hands folded neatly. In her lap, I asked her name. Nothing. I asked where she was headed. Still nothing. Just silence. The only sound in the cab was the hum of the engine and the occasional crackle of the CB. I remember glancing at her and seeing that her dress looked old, like decades old. The fabric was torn, muddy, and clung to her as if it had been soaked through. A few miles down the road, I reached for my coffee, and when I looked back, she was gone. Just gone. Passenger door still closed, seatbelt untouched, no trace she'd ever been there. I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, swearing out loud. I pulled over, jumped out, and checked around the truck with my flashlight. Nothing. Just the fog and the endless silence of the mountains. I didn't sleep for 2 nights after that. When I finally stopped at a diner in a nearby town, I mentioned what I'd seen to an older trucker sitting at the counter. He put down his fork, looked at me dead in the eyes, and said, "Exit 29. You picked her up, didn't you? Apparently, she's been seen for decades. A local girl who went missing in the 70s after walking home from a party. They found her body weeks later in the woods near that exit, badly decomposed, like she'd been lying in a swamp. Truckers say she still tries to catch rides, always vanishing a few miles down the road. I used to think ghost stories were just bullshit people tell to pass the time. But now, I'm not so sure. Every time I drive through that stretch, I keep my eyes locked. On the road ahead, I'll never stop there again. At 1:53 a.m., my ELD pinged. Prepare to exit for DOT inspection. Even though the way station at mile 184 is always closed at night. I've been driving long enough to know the rhythm of that stretch. Billboard for fireworks, gentle right, then the dead way house with a sun-faded closed board. But tonight, there were fresh cones, a portable aero board, and a Tahoe with red-blue LEDs bleeding color across wet asphalt. A guy in a tan uniform waved a traffic wand and gave me the two-finger bring it. I had 32 minutes left on drive time and a sealed pharma load. I signaled and took the exit, stomach tight. The setup looked right until it didn't. The commercial vehicle inspection banner was magnetic vinyl with wrinkles still in it. The uniform had a shoulder patch I didn't recognize and a plastic badge that flashed like a key card, not metal. No unit numbers on the Tahoe. He went straight for my paperwork. Level 2. Quick look. Then you're out, he said, smile glued on. His vest was spotless and his boots were bone dry on a wet night. That's when my brain finally caught up. Sir, what post is this? I asked, still polite. District 3 sub, he said, glancing past me like he was waiting for a cue. He told me to bump door 2. Door 2 was plywood painted gray against a block building with windows papered over. The dock lights were clamp lamps with red gel. The rubber bumpers were tractor mud flaps bolted to 4x4s. I staged a foot off the dock, set brakes, hazards on, and took photos. His Tahoe, the sign, the door. My seal number. I texted everything to my brother and to dispatch. Break the seal so we can count, he said, already walking toward my trailer with a bolt cutter he hadn't bothered to hide. We'll re-band you. I kept my window cracked 3 inches. I don't break a seal without a signed inspection form and badge number, I said, and I need the station ID. He tapped the plastic shield on his chest and said a number too fast. I asked him to slow down. He didn't. From the shadows, a white panel van eased into place behind me at an angle. Rear doors open, ramp down. Another guy in a high-vis vest rolled a pallet jack out of the dock. My ELD map zoomed on its own and put a green checkered flag on the building I was facing. A text hit my phone. Okay to break seal per dispatch. The number was 1 digit off my dispatcher's. I called my dispatcher from my recent calls list, not the text. He answered on the second ring, sleepy but real. We don't have you at any inspection tonight. Stay rolling, he said. I released the brakes and inched forward, so I was no longer square to the plywood. The officer slapped my door with his wand. Driver, stop, he said, tone dropping. I keyed 19. Westbound, mile 184 off-ramp. Anyone got eyes on an active checkpoint? A calm, sandpaper voice came back. Negative. House has been dark for months. In my mirror, I watched the van's driver lift a hand toward the bolt cutter guy like he was chopping time. I didn't goose it. I lugged it. First gear, steady, so if the pallet jack came at my ICC bar, I wouldn't spin. It did. Forks scraped, teeth on glass. I turned wide, ate 2 cones on purpose to give myself room, and pushed the nose into the shoulder grass to escape their triangle. The Tahoe rocked forward as if to block, then backed off when my bumper kept coming. Out on the ramp, I rolled the merge and got back on the interstate. The checkpoint went dark behind me, like someone had flipped a strip. A trooper with an actual marked unit met me 10 minutes later at a truck stop. He took one look at my photos and nodded like he'd been here before. They spoof GPS and signage, make it look official enough to nudge you, he said. He pointed at the banner font. That's not our vendor. He ran the plate I got. Off the Tahoe, came back to a rental agency. The station ID number the guy rattled off belonged to a scale house 2 counties away. We rolled my seal under the canopy lights. Intact. Under the ICC bar was a fresh yellow scrape and a self-tapper. Screwed into bare metal, like someone had measured where to hook a strap if I'd parked flush. The trooper shook his head and radioed county. Ghost inspections, he said to me. Show up when the real house is down. They get you to break your own seal and make the loss procedural. Insurance hates that. Back in the cab, I compared the fake dispatch text to my real. Dispatcher's number. The last digit was a 6 instead of an 8. Close enough to fool a sleepy eye. I blocked the spoof. Dispatch emailed a note to the shipper with my photos. In the morning, they sent it to a security list. Replies poured in with the same MO from other states. Cones, a vinyl banner, a quick level 2, and a van with the ramp already down. I learned 3 rules that night I don't plan to forget. 1. If the badge isn't metal and the uniform's too clean for a wet night, proceed like it's a movie set. 2. Never let anyone pick the place where you stop. Move to your light, your camera, your line of escape. 3. Don't trust texts pushed to your phone in the moment. Call numbers you already know from your recents, not the ones they give you. They didn't need to chase me. They tried to move the finish line and clap when I crossed. Not tonight. At 2:13 a.m. outside Tucumcari, a silver Camry slid up on my driver's side, and the passenger started windmilling his arm toward my trailer. He mouthed, "Loose, loose," and pointed hard at my tandems. In the convex mirror, I saw something flicker by the mud flap every second or two like a tail. My stomach did that drop all truckers know, the one you get when you picture a strap whipping or a door about to blow. The Camry slowed and drifted toward the shoulder, hazard lights on, giving me the follow me gesture. There was a wide, gravel patch right there, dark, no cameras, no buildings. I didn't take it. I rolled another quarter-mile to the next gas station canopy, bright as noon, and stopped under the lights, nose almost kissing the storefront. Doors locked, windows up. I kept the engine running and the dash cam hot. I stepped down with my maglite and walked the driver's side slow, then the rear. The loose thing was a water bottle duct taped inside the flap so it would bob out. And slap, a cheap noisemaker. While I was crouched, the Camry pulled in and parked behind my trailer at an angle that blocked my escape if I backed. 2 guys got out, one hung back by my right rear corner, hands in hoodie, eyes on my passenger door. The other kept the helpful smile. "Back straps hanging, man. We can fix," he said, closing distance like a clerk about to hand me change. Stood up and took 3 steps backward toward my cab, making sure the store's camera could see our triangle. "I'm good," I said, loud. "Road service is on the way." He pointed past me. There, and tried to pivot me physically toward the rear. I shook my head and kept moving toward my steps. He stayed with me, easygoing. From under the IO trailer, on the blind side, I heard a metal scrape, like a hook kissing the ICC bar. I climbed fast and dropped the air, then tug-tested hard in gear. The truck shuddered, and the guy on the blind side rolled out from under like a mechanic caught napping, palms black, hoodie belly streaked yellow from my underride. He sprinted to the Camry, which suddenly had 3 people in it. The helpful. One put both hands up like he wanted me calm and started talking through the glass I'd already rolled up. "We fix for you cheap, 5 minutes. I stared at him and dialed 911 with my thumb on speaker. He heard the ring, hesitated, then backed away. Inside the store, the clerk had been watching. He pointed at the screen. Rewind showed the Camry easing in while I was still walking the driver's side. A 4th guy slipping from the passenger rear door and flattening under my trailer with a nylon strap and a small hook. He looped the strap over the axle and fed it forward to a self-tapper someone had already put into my ICC bar, then started inching the slack. First tight turn, the strap would have grabbed and either stalled me or ripped a line. Either way, I'd be broken down in the dark, and the helpers would materialize. The cops took 14 minutes. The Camry left at 5. No plates. On the front, a plate cover on the rear that read "muddy" through the lens. The officer was professional and tired. "We've had versions of this," he said, looking at the strap I'd cut. "Sometimes they just want the doors. Sometimes they want the cab. Either way, they want you stopped where they chose." Back in the lot, I crawled under with the clerk's flashlight. On my blue service line, someone had cinched a zip tie. Not tight enough to cut, just enough to get pulled into the glad hand. At a full lock, it would have popped the line and forced a panic stop. I cut it off and felt stupid for feeling lucky. I posted stills to a Facebook group for drivers. Replies came in fast. Amarillo, Joplin, Memphis. Same loose strap pantomime. Same water bottle slapper. Same angled park behind your trailer so you can't back straight. One driver said they added a rescue step. A guy with a reflective vest jogs up with a tool bag, fixes your problem for a tip while a buddy slips your passenger door. Another said they found a person actually wedged above the axle, wearing a backpack, planning to ride to the next exit. My new rules live taped to my dash. Pick your own stop. Light, cameras, witnesses. Don't go to their spot, even if they're pointing at the problem. If someone signals issue, roll to a place with people and check from the driver's seat first. Mirrors and dash cam. Doors locked, windows barely cracked, voice loud. If you must get out, make it under glass, your glass and theirs. And when you hear a helpful, "You've got something loose back there," at 2:13 a.m., remember they might be right, because they made it loose